Hello and welcome to News Round, a recap of stories in the week. I'm Teniola Shuboale. The headlines. After spending 57 days in captivity, 27 students of the Federal College of Forestry and Mechanization in Kaduna State finally regained their freedom. Service chiefs meet with lawmakers in Senate over alarming state of insecurity in the country. Federal government begins profiling of suspected persons involved in financing terrorism to tackle insecurity. Plus, 23 people die following collapse of a metro overpass in Mexico City. That's News Round in View. News Round begins with the cherry news of the release of the remaining abducted 27 students of the Federal College of Forestry and Mechanization (FACA) in Kaduna State. They were released after spending 57 days in captivity. The students, who still looked traumatized, were made to undergo critical medical examination before they were reunited with their families. 10 of the 39 abducted students had earlier been freed by their abductors.
It's too early now.
Parents of the released students of the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization (FACA) celebrating the return of their children after 57 days in captivity. But today is not the day to reunite with them, as they are currently undergoing thorough medical examination and post-trauma counseling.
It's only God that saved me, because I have high blood pressure before. That very night I had this incident happened. If not my sister that was with me, I don't know what could have happened, because my BP rise more than necessary. I was destabilized totally. And up to now, I've not regained, because I'm feeling headache seriously.
It's not funny, and it's not a good experience for anybody to go through it. It's not a good experience. And our prayer is for no parents, nobody should go through this experience. Even if it is your enemy, you don't pray for him to go through this experience.
It is also a moment of joy for other students of the college who also stormed the school premises to felicitate with the parents of the returnees. But then they want government to beef up security in the school.
I'm really grateful to God for bringing my friends, my family, because in my school we are just a small college. We love ourselves so much, and I'm happy they are back.
Staying in hostel is optional now. If only the school will provide the maximum security, the tight security, nothing will stop me from staying in the hostel. But if they are not providing the security needed, no, I can't stay in the hostel.
The 27 freed students arrive in their school, where their journey into the kidnappers' den started on March 11, 2021. They were conveyed to the school from a police hospital where they had undergone medical checks after they were released a few days ago. Their parents and colleagues who have been waiting to receive them couldn't hide their excitement when they arrived. Some of the students still limped due to injuries sustained while in the custody of their abductors. For the grieving parents, the release of the students is also a huge relief, and despite the setback, they say they will not stand in the way of their children's pursuit of education in the College of Forestry, FACA.
We the parents, we promised that we are going to do everything humanly possible to negotiate the life of our children, and which we did. Anybody who said ransom was not paid, anybody who said there was no negotiation, the person is a liar.
If there is security, when they put security, I will allow her to finish her school. But if without security, no.
For Jennifer Peter and Victoria Sani, Two of the abducted students being in the forest with the bandits for over 50 days was not a tea party. They say the incident will remain etched in their memories.
They came around 12, we got there around 4. We walked for like 4 hours or so. We walked before we met them with the bikes, then they took us. I don't really know what to say, but them, the people there said they want to make peace with the government. So I don't know, it's left for the government, but I don't know, but they are having higher plans to do higher things to schools. They want to close all schools in Kaduna. That's what they said.
Like we sleep outside, mosquitoes, cold, no better bed, just we slept on the floor with grasses and the rest. Definitely, I will continue my education.
The Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs describes the abduction of the students as something that should not be allowed to happen again, while the State Commissioner of Police gives assurance of improved security in Kaduna State to forestall future raids in schools across the state.
This is an evil that is before us. This is something that requires all of us to come together. This is not issue of faith. This is not issue of ethnicity. This is not issue of political persuasion. This is something that is threatening national security and also our existence and our humanity. So we need to come together.
We are appealing to the members of the public. Criminals, they are in different forms. They are in every tribe, they are in every religion. So it's for the good ones to come together to fight them with a view to getting rid of them within our environment.
The release of these students has no doubt brought a breath of fresh air to all those affected by the abduction saga. But going forward, there is the need for government and security agencies to ensure that all schools are protected so that teaching and learning will go on without hindrance.
In the meantime, the Finance Minister, Zainab Ahmed, has made clarifications on the funding of the Nigerian military in the last 3 years. Ms. Ahmed appeared before the Senate Committee on Army and told the lawmakers that President Buhari prioritizes funding of the military, while the Ministry of Finance will release 100% of monies appropriated to the military in the 2021 budget.
Finally, the Minister of Finance is before the Senate Committee on Army to explain budgetary provisions and releases to the military to tackle the security crisis in the country. Her absence at the meeting, scheduled for last Thursday, April 29th, triggered the displeasure of the committee chairman, who has consistently sounded an alarm that the armed forces are not well equipped to fight the war on terrorism and general insecurity.
It is so bad that the Nigerian army are rationing ammunition. Rationing food is common, is usual. But armed ammunition, they ration ammunition. And I can be quoted. I have gone round the formations. I have not seen a Nigerian soldier holding a brand new AK-47 yet.
Details of releases. But the Finance Minister emphasizes that the federal government has been diligent in providing funds to the military.
Perhaps what we are providing is not enough, but the fact is we provide what is budgeted and we provide what is approved.
She also gives a breakdown of releases to the armed forces.
In 2020, the total capital budget for the armed force for the Nigerian army was 34.37 billion, and this amount was released 100%. In 2021, that is this current year, the total budget for the Nigerian Army is 29 billion. And so far, and we're in May, and this is as at April, we have released 17.98% of that, which is 61.92%.
As the committee goes into a closed-door session to hold further discussions with the finance minister, the Senate president at plenary discloses that the service chiefs and heads of security agencies would on Thursday, May 6th, appear before the upper chamber to brief lawmakers on efforts to address the spate of insecurity in the country.
I want to appeal to all of us that the briefing we will take from the service chiefs and other security agencies will be very crucial for us to be properly informed, properly guided, and that if there is any request for supplementary budget, we should be able to understand why we should consider and approve such requests.
The Senate had also asked the Chief of Army Staff and Inspector General of Police to immediately deploy troops to defend troubled communities and also establish a permanent military and police base at the axis adjoining Shiroro and Rafi local government areas in Niger State besieged by Boko Haram. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
And as part of efforts to address the security challenges facing the country, the service chiefs have held a closed-door meeting with lawmakers in the National Assembly to brief the lawmakers on their efforts at protecting lives and properties in the country. Their appearance at the Senate was in response to an invitation by the upper chamber last week over the rising insecurity across the nation. After the meeting, which lasted for nearly 4 hours, the Senate spokesman said the upper chamber would expect the executive to come forward with a supplementary budget for the armed forces.
Heads of security agencies arrive in the National Assembly. The appearance at the Senate is in response to an invitation by the upper chamber last week over the alarming insecurity in the country. As the session begins, Senate President Ahmed Lawan admits that the armed forces haven't achieved the optimum in fighting insecurity, and this is largely because of inadequate resources. This is after Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed told the Senate Committee on Army on Tuesday that the Army got 1.008 trillion naira as budget releases between January 2019 and the first quarter of 2021.
We pray that at the end of this interaction, we'll see better ways and means of providing the necessary provision for resources to enable our armed forces continue with this national case of fighting to provide the kind of security that we need to protect the lives and property of citizens.
The meeting goes into a closed-door session which lasts for nearly 4 hours.
Gentlemen of the press.
Briefing journalists after the meeting, the Senate spokesman says the National Assembly will be waiting to receive a supplementary budget to help in tackling insecurity.
We spoke just like high-level discussion on general challenges and requirements for us to have an efficient and effective security. The details of whatever will go into supplementary appropriation can only be worked upon by the Ministry of Finance, which is an executive arm, together with our relevant committee. And so we are ready to receive supplementary budget.
Meanwhile, the Senate has adjourned for the Salah holiday to resume on May 18, 2021. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
When News Round returns in just a moment, federal government begins profiling of suspected persons involved in financing terrorism to tackle insecurity. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. In keeping with its resolve to tackle the rising insecurity in the country, especially terrorism, the federal government is clamping down on the sources of finance of the groups. According to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Mr. Abubakar Malami, government is already profiling some highly placed persons allegedly involved in financing terrorism with a view to persecuting them. He explains that the arrest of the suspects and the recent conviction of some Nigerians in the United Arab Emirates for terrorism financing has given the decision leverage.
Sometimes back, there were certain convictions of Nigerians allegedly involved in terrorism financing in the United States of America, United States of UAE, United Arab Emirates. That gave rise to a wider and far-reaching investigations in Nigeria, and I'm happy to report that arising from the wider coverage investigations that has been conducted in Nigeria, a number of people both institutional and otherwise, were found to be culpable, were found to, reasonable grounds for suspicion of terrorist financing have been established or perhaps has been proven to be in existence in respect of the transactions of certain higher profile individuals and businessmen across the country. And I'm happy to report that investigation has been ongoing for long and it has reached an advanced stage. Arising from the investigation, there exists certainly reasonable grounds for suspicion that a lot of Nigerians, high profile, institutional and otherwise, are involved in terrorist financing, and they are being profiled for prosecution. So in essence, it is indeed true that the government is prosecuting and is indeed initiating processes of prosecuting those high-profile individuals that are found to be financing terrorism. It is indeed true.
How many of them have been arrested?
Well, as to the number, because the investigation is ongoing and it has to be conclusive before one can arrive at a certain number. But one thing I can tell you is a large number, and they are being profiled for prosecution. It is indeed a large number, and I am not in a position to give you with precision the number as at now because the profiling and investigation is ongoing.
So what is the message the government is now sending to those with the habit of financing terrorism?
Well, the message is clear. Nobody is going to be spared. No stone will be left unturned. We shall certainly and aggressively pursue those people that are involved in terrorist financing as far as the Nigerian state is concerned.
Away from security matters, Nigerian media professionals have joined in the commemoration of the World Press Freedom Day, which is marked annually on May the 3rd. It celebrates the fundamental principles of press freedom, evaluates press freedom around the world, defends the media from attacks on their independence, and to pay tributes to journalists for their efforts and struggle in carrying out their profession.
Journalists are writers of first rough draft of history, they say, and time may have altered the form and style of information dissemination, but some things never change. The Nigerian Constitution guarantees freedom of speech and freedom to receive and impart information without interference. Understandably, the freedom is not absolute, and there are instances where the government have been accused of attempting to shrink the civil space with draconian sanctions or fines.
Today, the broadcast media, they are practically operating on their toes because you don't even know what to say and they will not clamp down on you. The regulatory agency would always make reference to existing laws, maybe the broadcast code. There is now the need for a review.
The media should monitor governance and hold government accountable to the people. Now, what we've discovered is that government recognizes that, but they then put obstacles on our path through other legislations that will make it difficult for us to carry out the obligation imposed on us by the Constitution. It shouldn't be the NBC that would make allegations of violation of the code that would then decide that you had actually violated, and then we'll also go ahead and impose, fines. That is like you are the accuser, you are the prosecutor, and you are the judge in your own case.
Objectivity, fairness, and balance are values that have long guided journalism, but in the rapidly changing media environment where news consumption is only a click away, the debate over censorship keeps hovering around regulations and whether there's too much information in public space.
The theme for this year's World Press Freedom Day is information as a public good. And as the public seek this information that would impact their health, their finances, and sustainable development, the media, on the other hand, would be concerned about the production, distribution, and the reception of their content.
Alabi Williams is the editor of The Guardian newspaper. He believes a lot is attached to press freedom.
What does it mean to be a journalist in today's Nigeria?
Between last year and this year, the economy has been really, really tough. And it's particularly tough for the media, the independent, the private media. That you have to source for your materials by yourself. You don't get, subventions from government. whereas the responsibility is huge. It is a constitutional responsibility, to be a journalist.
The Reporter Without Borders World Press Freedom Index ranked Nigeria 115 out of 180 countries in its 2020 surveys, but on the bright side, Nigeria is said to be enjoying media pluralism with more than 100 media organizations in the country. Dari Ido, Channels Television News.
News round ends in Mexico City, where the mayor says 23 people died after a metro overpass collapsed as a train was traveling over it. 2 train carriages were seen hanging from the structure above a busy road. At least 65 people were known to have been injured in the incident.
Como siempre, la Fiscalía General de Justicia debe llevar a cabo un peritaje.
Mayor Shinbom says a full investigation will be carried out into the causes of the overpass collapse that killed 23 people. The incident happened on Monday, May 3rd, and he says it's too soon to say who was responsible for what happened. An external company will be doing the investigation. Local media reported that residents had reported cracks in the structure after a deadly 2017 earthquake. One local newspaper said authorities made repairs following the reports. A drone video captured images of the 2 train carriages precariously hanging from the damaged overpass. It's the deadliest incident in decades in the city's metro system, one of the busiest in the world. Rescue and emergency teams had tried to reach potential survivors from the collapsed overpass today. A crane transported to the site is working to stabilize the train carriages so rescuers can resume their search for victims, while authorities assess the risk of more of the overpass and train cars slamming down onto the road. Rescue had been suspended as the structure was very weak. Emergency crew are working through today to find more victims. Authorities are also working to identify the dead. 1 person trapped in their car underneath the wreckage had been rescued alive and was taken to hospital. 7 of the people transported to hospital were in critical condition and are undergoing surgery. The crash has raised questions about safety on one of the world's busiest metro systems, which spreads across a vast urban sprawl that is home to some 20 million people. It comes a year after 1 person was killed and more than 40 people injured in a collision between 2 metro trains in Mexico City.
And that's News Round this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shoboale. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.